What's up, guys? Farooqi Bros here, back with another podcast. And today, for you guys, we're going to be talking about DC on film. Particularly, I like that picture, new profile picture of Samir with the cat in his head, but particularly the future of DC. As you guys know, at the beginning of 2024, our first podcast of the year, we actually did an end of the DC EU podcast where we kind of broke down what worked and, in a majority of the sense, what didn't work for that first franchise. But now, we're at the next era. We're in a transitionary year where you have Joker 2 coming out, and then next year you have Superman Legacy, the Batman 2, and then the start of this universe. But, I don't think everything is as clean as it seems, because when you actually put it under a microscope, you realize that Warner Brothers might be selling, rather, WB Discovery might be selling Warner Brothers Pictures to another company like Paramount or Universal or Comcast, etc. So this franchise might be over before it started. So we want to discuss kind of what we think the DC on film will look like going forward. I'm not even going to say DCU because we don't know how long the DCU led by James Gunn will even last. So let's just kind of break it down. We know there's the next three movies coming out. What's so funny, Edwards? What was the joke on this one?
You said
James Gunn. I thought James Gunn, Jimmy Gunn, but basically let's get right into it. The next movie coming out is Joker, which is a completely different universe. As we know, it's a future of the franchise that is not under Gunn. In this case, it's under Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi. In fact, James Gunn multiple times said that I have no control over Joker. So it's not even under the Elseworlds banner. As you guys know, Gunn recently talked about, hey, there's going to be two kind of different divisions of DC films going forward. There's going to be our mainline universe, and then there's going to be this Elseworlds Black Label banner. This is an idea that was tossed around several years ago, but it never actually came to fruition. Now we're seeing a version of it actually come to fruition. But Joker 2 is a part of none of that. That's a true old school WB film, which is probably why it's going to be better than the mainline set of universes. So maybe let's start with Joker 2, because I realized even in our most anticipated movies of 2024, we didn't really get into Joker that much. So, Zion, I'm going to start with you. Do you think we're in this transition year? You think Joker 2 will kind of get the audience's palate cleansed from the DCEU before we launch into a new universe in 2025?
I think it will, just because of how radically different it will be. Not even just from the DCEU of the past or the DCU to come, but even DC movies in general. Even the first Joker film, it's going to be such a detachment of that. I think it will be something very brand new, kind of fresh in that regard, in the superhero space in a way. But I don't think it will be any indication or any determination that this movie, how well it does, how bad it does, or how great it is or will be, is going to determine how or predict how great James Gunn's DCU will be. I think they're so far apart from each other in tone, in stylistically, and I'm sure creatively and craft-wise, how they're even making the film. If it's anything like the first Joker, is going to be a lot of work, a lot of heart put into it. And the fear of James Gunn's DCU is that it'll be cut from the same cloth as the MCU, given obviously his history and his experience there, where it'll end up falling into this more very general, very, I don't want to use the word assembly line again, but that really is what it falls into, where it's like, it's kind of like the same old that we've seen, just with a different character, just with Superman now. And it is unfortunate because you'd want Superman's new introduction to be as best as it can be, but because of things of the past, and though Guardians 3 was good as one of the better MCU movies, especially of these recent years, I think there is still that fear that Superman Legacy, either it's too bloated with all these side characters, it's not as pure of a Superman movie, or just because James Gunn's going to fall into the same tropes that the MCU had, whether or not it was his own Guardians movies, but MCU in general. Those are all fears, and I think Joker 2, whether it's an amazing movie or it's not as good as the first one or whatever the case might be, I think it's going to be so detached from DCU that even though it might seem like, okay, it could be a palate cleanser, it it won't really mean anything in that sense because the refresh will still be DCEU itself because those are the characters that are being changed, Superman and any other character that's being repeated now or revamped. So I think let's see how that will go. I don't think it will necessarily be an indication of how the DCEU will be, though.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think Joker is almost like it doesn't even count. My count, I mean, it doesn't count as a win or a loss for DC either way because it's so detached. I mean, people barely even consider it a DC movie. It's going to kind of be its own thing. So when the DCU starts, like if this movie's $1 billion success, I'm not giving, any credit to James Gunn for that. It's not his movie. And if it's a total failure, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, this is a good indication that DC's down the drain. I think this is a one-off. It's going to be its own little thing. If it does well, no credit goes to this new universe. And if it does poorly, I wouldn't put any harm on it. But I think when you look at the new universe coming forward, there's an emphasis. Obviously, Superman's going to restart it, but there's also Supergirl. There's a movie with Supergirl coming out. This confirmed they're not bringing back Sasha Calle. They're bringing a new actress in. I think they're considering the Game of Thrones, House of Dragons actress as one of the contenders for it. And then you have the Swamp Thing movie coming out with James Mangold, and then obviously there's the Batman movie, which we don't know what's going on. We know Andy Muschietti was originally given the keys to that Batman movie, but I don't know. The more time you wait, it's hard to tell what's going to happen there either. So I don't know. It's just my first instinct is once again we're falling into the same traps that the DCEU went into. So I don't know how someone can come into here being like so much more confident. But Umar, do you feel more confident in this new universe, or are we basically in for more of the same?
I think we have to wait and see, right? So I think it depends on the success of the first couple of movies that come out. I think obviously if Superman comes out and it somehow like does really, really bad, then I feel like it's going to be more of the same because I feel like they're going to try to course correct. They're going to be reactionary like they've always been. And then we don't know on the business side what's going to happen with the actual studio. And I think that just like the past, every time a new company comes and overtakes, they want their own stamp on, they want to start fresh, or sometimes they want their own stamp on things. So I think you have a lot of moving parts which can impact kind of the early films that come out, which will impact, technically is going to impact the whole universe, right? So I definitely think that there needs to be a plan, a really like set plan that they have moving forward, because I do think that like with the Batman not knowing kind of what the situation is on that end, like what they're gonna go with. Also considering that Matt Reeves' trilogy is still happening, so he's still going on with his Batman movies. So you kind of, it might be overwhelming for the audience, maybe, but at the same time, I think that it all depends on how the movies perform. If Superman comes out and it performs really well, there's a chance that, especially if it cracks $1 billion, I think that, I think they're going to move forward. Even if the other movies might struggle a bit here and there, they might just push forward. It's going to take, that start has to be good.
Yeah, and actually,
universe to have a different,
You actually perfectly segued me to my next topic because I actually wanted to focus in on Matt Reeves, the Batman, because I don't know about you guys, but there's some rumors out there. Obviously, nothing's fully founded. I'm not going to put like so much grains of, but I mean, take it with a lot of grain of salt because it's not like all there. But I think it's worth talking really quickly about what's happening with the Batman Part 2, because we know that Matt Reeves has been working on the script for Part 2 since 2021 turned 2022, and James Gunn, for better or worse, I don't know what you guys think about his writing. I think none of us are big fans of his work, but there are people who are fans of his work. Now he is Matt Reeves' boss, right? For all intents and purposes. And the script goes through him. So they asked James Gunn recently that, did you get a chance to read Matt Reeves' Batman 2 script? And he said he has not gotten the script yet. And when they asked Jeffrey Wright, who is playing Commissioner Gordon, about the same thing, did you get a chance to read Batman 2 scripts? He hasn't gotten the script yet. This is a movie that's supposed to come out next year, and there hasn't even been a script submitted. Officially, based on production timelines, this movie was supposed to start production 3 to 4 months ago, and it still hasn't. It's a bit of a standstill. So I want to put our speculation hats on, which is something we normally do. Not much of a journalistic thing, but more just us putting a fan hat on and looking at it, because if you look at the timeline, we know based on reports that James Gunn and Peter Safran, the Warner Brothers brass, they really wanted Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves to kind of fold into the DCU. They wanted the new universe to be like, oh, we already have a good head start with the Batman. We'll throw in a young Superman. We'll have a good universe. But apparently Matt Reeves and his team were very against it, which is probably good for people like Zion and others who've been saying vehemently, like, hey, do not get involved in any universes. And you've been pretty consistent on Zion, even when back in the day we were saying that, hey, is Robert Pattinson going to be a young Ben Affleck movie? Back then, those speculations, you were like, nah, keep it all separate. We're still in that spot now where, like, hey, keep it separate, because Matt Reeves doesn't want to mix into the universe, which is a smart idea given the whole, like, David Zaslav might sell the whole company. Might as well keep your stuff separate. But do you think that, like, there is some kind of politics at play? Like, Zan, do you think there's a politics at play in the background where it's like, this movie, like, maybe we don't want it doing that well because it's all about this new universe, or maybe want to put some pressure on Matt Reeves to fold into the DCU before it's too late? Like, I don't know. Did you put any stock in that, or do you think, nah, it's all going as planned, but Matt Reeves just wants to take his time?
I'm gonna be honest. I would not put it past James Gunn for trying to, like, get his hand into everything. I wouldn't put so much stock into like all that news about them not getting the script and a lot more drama that might be happening in the background. I think there might be studio intervention that is causing trouble, because obviously they have their own ideas for what they want Batman to be. Maybe they're still trepidatious, or kind of like, all right, let's just put a cap on this side project that Matt Reeves doing with Batman so they could start their Batman proper for their universe. So it could be a multitude of reasons why there's this, like, somewhat of a standstill, because it's almost 2 years now, maybe in like one more month since the Batman came out. So you'd expect them to at least have been locked down with the script, given that if they started like soon after the other movie ended or got released. But the fact that there's still shaky ground on that, it is somewhat of a cause for concern. I think maybe there is, I don't know if it's James Gunn directly. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Maybe it's the whole group of them that are like, all right, if you're going to release this, do it this way, do it that way, put this character in, put Dick Grayson in, put Robin in, make it a little lighter, do this, that. I don't know why. And maybe Matt Reeves is also fighting back that they're not coming to this one unified vision, which obviously we've seen from past projects. We've talked about ad nauseum that when it's made by committee, it is always worse. So it might be one of those cases where Matt Reeves is also kind of like, all right, I'm going to take a stand where I'm not going to officially submit any script or anything for the actor to see or to get the production started if all this meddling keeps happening and I cannot get if he cannot get what he actually wants on the screen. So honestly, there is a slight fear of the 1% chance that they shut it down completely. I don't think that's likely. But you honestly never, ever know, especially with all the talk of WB being sold and DC maybe being sold as separate property. We'll see what happens to all these things. So it is a fear in that regard. And I wouldn't put it past James Gunn and WB for meddling if that is the case of why there's been such a delay.
I want to get into a comment. There's someone saying, what are your thoughts on Matt Reeves being included on future DCU projects like Arkham series, as previously said on his Batverse? This is an interesting point because James Gunn talked about this on Threads. Someone asked him about the Arkham Asylum HBO Max, or just Max, TV series, which was originally supposed to be a Batverse project, a Matt Reeves project, where it takes place in between Batman 2 and 3, maybe. But now James Gunn said this project is now going to be part of the DCU. So there's an Arkham project coming out for the new universe that Matt Reeves is producing, but it's not part of his universe. That is kind of weird. I don't know. I haven't heard much about this myself outside of one Threads post, but do you think this is a good idea, like Matt Reeves having kind of a hand in both universes now, or what do you make of this thought?
I think I don't know. I think people being producers and stuff sometimes doesn't have the most. It's not the same as actually working on a project, right? So
yeah,
I think it's slightly different. And I think that Matt Reeves being involved in multiple projects, I think is good as in terms of the quality of work that might come out. But again, he's not working on anything; he's just producing. So it's hard to tell. I think speculating on these things is going to be very tough in the early stages because there's no way to fully know. And I think that the script, I think a person like Matt Reeves probably wants to perfect the script before he submits it. He seems like the type that wants to have everything like fully fleshed out, and then he'll submit something. Also, James Gunn has lied like a million times, so I wouldn't be surprised if he if he gets asked like, "Oh, did you see the script?" and now he says yes, and he says, "Yeah, but I didn't see it at that specific moment," or he finds a way out of it. You know what I mean? So I think that like there's no way to really tell like the timeline, of everything that's happening, because it's gonna be very like, it's gonna be very like, it depends on what they're saying at the time, right? It depends on what they're saying at the time. So
and as for Batman, like we know, like some of the rumors that there's very light rumors out there that will involve Robin in some shape, form, like introducing him, and the villain's up in the air. Like I've heard everything from Hush to Mr. Freeze. Who knows which would?
I don't think James Gunn would want. I don't think James Gunn would want like a fleshed out Batverse, because I'm sure that's what he's going to do.
That's what he wants to do.
Because the earlier rumors for his Batman was that Robin's like a part of it. Like Robin.
And he's picking an old Batman again. Like they basically are doing Ben Affleck Batman again, which is absolutely garbage. Yeah, they don't want. I would say go with young Batman, start fresh with Superman, but it is what it is. I guess now because they know there's 2 concurrent Batman going to be showing up, it is what it is. I do think it's in. One second, I'll let you go. I think it's in WB's best interest to not even release a Batman movie until Matt Reeves completes his trilogy. Then give a 2-year break and then release Batman. If that means the Batman movie comes out in phase 2 of this new universe, then let it be. And let's concentrate on Superman getting as many movies as he can. But yeah, Summer, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say they should. I mean, if James Gunn really wanted, right, he could have easily 2025 is Superman's coming out, right? Yeah. You're gonna give it another year.
Everything's 2025 now.
Right. And so you could let James Gunn, you could let Matt Reeves finish his trilogy, and you can pick up Robert Pattinson. But if Robert Pattinson as an actor is interested in that universe, which I don't think he would be, but let's just say he somehow is, maybe the movie start making money or something, and you throw money at him that he can't really say no to, then you could potentially have a Batman that's already 3 movies in. So he's grizzled, like he's done his part, in Gotham, and then continue that universe. I don't know why Zion is laughing.
I don't know. I think the other problem is money, because I've heard David Zaslav wants to start printing these DC movies out for cheap. And the one thing about the DC EU, for the most part, is they had some pretty expensive cast members like Ben Affleck. These people commanded high salaries to take on the roles. If you look at the casting specifically of Superman Legacy carefully, they're kind of going for cheap. Like they're getting lower level actors to just take on these roles. So I'm not sure. Like you're saying, throw big money at Robert Pattinson. I don't think they have the kind of money to throw at Robert Pattinson anymore. I think whatever contract they signed for Matt Reeves' Batman, they're gonna let that finish out. And if he doesn't accept a new contract, I don't think they're gonna be.
Honestly, on that point, just before more answers, on the point of all the actors and kind of getting it cheap, I think now that I'm thinking about it, maybe him bloating the Superman movie was a pure strategic move, because it's all right, let's cast all these characters. They're all going to be side characters, so you can get them for cheap, and you don't necessarily have to get the big name person. You can get the mid-tier person, and just to fill the role. And then if they're good enough, they're talented enough in the screen testing, whatever, then you have them for the long run. But it's almost like you're hindering this movie for that purpose. I don't know.
Seemingly so far.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so far the DCU, the biggest actor they have so far is Nicholas Hoult, I think, for Lex Luthor. But there's none of the other actors. Maybe for Rachel Brosnahan for Lois Lane is not big on TV, but not big on film. Everyone else is pretty TV or lower level film for this universe. But Samir, I want to jump to you, and this time I want to give you a different type of angle, because if you're Warner Brothers, what is the crowning jewel of let's say these 3 movies, right? You got Joker 2, you got Superman Legacy, and you got Batman Part 2. If you're in the driver's seat, what is the movie you're like, okay, this is where the marketing goes, this is where we put all of our chips in the basket? Or is none of it looking that good? I mean, for me, it's Batman is your box office draw, Joker is your Oscar bait, and then Superman is start your new franchise. But if you're David Zaslav, I mean, what are you looking at as this is the one we got to be putting more emphasis on?
I think they definitely definitely invest the most in Superman. It's going to be the start of the new universe, and Joker already did good, and Batman already did pretty good. So they already have like an established market that people will come back and watch those movies. And the success of those movies haven't affected the success of other DC projects. So they definitely have to focus most on Superman, especially since it's their biggest character, and they're going to relaunch it with a different actor. This has to be it for them, I assume.
And Superman is kind of where I want to transition the podcast to next, and that's the new talks. I mean, during the Critics' Choice Awards and whatever the other award shows have been going on, they've been interviewing Rachel Brosnahan and Lois Lane quite a bit because she's been nominated for Marvelous Miss Maisel. And every single time they talk to her about Superman, she gives a little bit more information about the film that we gives more context of what that's going to be. And one of the things that she keeps saying is, and I don't know how Homer's going to react to this one, but that this Superman is going to have a sense of humor, and we've heard that a few times now. He's going to have a sense of humor more than any other Superman, which includes even Christopher Reeve, I guess. So we're looking at a Superman who's going to have a bit of a like James Gunn feel to it, like he's gonna have his own stamp. And she spoke in another interview that we're doing our own thing with Superman while still paying homage to all the previous Superman, but it's still gonna be its own thing. So as we kind of get forward, we still don't have a costume, we still don't have a lot of things about this movie, but we have a couple of things we know now. One is we know who the director of photography is now, the cinematographer, and it's the person who James Gunn's worked with quite often. So I'll give you 3 films he's done. 2 of them, he did the Suicide Squad with James Gunn, he did Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 with James Gunn, and he did The Flash. This is the guy who's being the cinematographer for Superman Legacy. So we know 2 things now. I'm going to bring out the 2 things to put out there onto the stream. This Superman's going to have a sense of humor, and the cinematographer has done those 3 movies, among others. But this is kind of what we're looking at right now. So, Umar, what do you think about, what's your outlook on the new Superman movie coming out?
I mean, it depends how what his sense of humor is, right? Like Superman you could do like dry humor, you could do like where he's kind of like there's funny things happening around him, but if it's like him cracking jokes on the screen and he's Superman, it doesn't work. In my opinion, I think he's gonna struggle. Also, it might be just that they want to go somewhere fresh. I don't think we've had kind of like a humoristic Superman. So I feel like they want to maybe take him in a fresh direction. But I think like it all depends how they go about it, right? Like if it's Clark making the jokes, I think it's slightly different. I think if it's Superman in his suit while he's like in the thick of a fight, just cracking jokes, I'm not for that, right? So I think it all depends on how they go about it. We always knew they were gonna go lighter, but humorous is a little bit different. Humorous is like comedy. It's slightly different. And then the second point, which I'm forgetting, but what was the second thing? What was the second?
Oh, cinematographer that they have attached to the movie now.
I actually think, like, to be honest, if he does it like the movies that he's done in the MCU, it might not be that like. And Suicide Squad wasn't that bad. Like,
it wasn't that bad. Yeah, I think the Flash was really his bad one.
Like visually, it was okay, but the Flash was garbage. And I think that with Superman, you're gonna have to use a lot of CGI, which the Flash did. Yeah. So I feel like it's gonna come out like very mid tier. Like it's gonna be something in between these movies.
Yeah,
I don't think it'll be like Suicide Squad.
Yeah, and I'll go next, and I'll kind of speak at length a little bit because obviously I'm the resident Superman fan. So let's get right into it. I don't have a problem with Superman having a sense of humor. I think that's actually quite normal for Superman. Like if he's reacting to something, he'll try to be like lighthearted in a situation. And I think as long as it's wholesome, like if James Gunn pushes towards wholesome more than raunchy, that's where it's going to be good. If the second it gets raunchy, then you lost me as like a fan. So I'm looking at Superman. If you look at the comic history, the film history, he'll have a lighthearted moment, and I think it'll work best because of the outlook the film's coming in. Because remember, like let's say Man of Steel, that was Superman's the first hero in a world where there are no heroes, and everyone is kind of like looking at him like he's crazy. This time, Superman's coming into a world where there's millions of superheroes. Like everyone's established. That's what James Gunn said it was movie's going to be. Like there's lots of superheroes established. It's full of them. So when Superman comes, it's going to be kind of like The Boys or something like that Amazon show where it's like the superheroes that are currently in this universe are kind of bad. Like they're not great and they're like corrupted in some way. And Superman's going to come like this country boy very pure-hearted, and I think they're gonna play that humor where he's gonna be like watching how these other superheroes are acting, and he's gonna be like, "Wait, that's not the right way. We gotta do it this way," and that's gonna cause the humor and the tension between them, and then whoever the main villain is rumors of Brainiac, things like that. I'm excited to see. I think there is room for this like classic Superman story that could be told, which is why I'm holding out hope. I'm not a huge James Gunn fan, but I think there are things from his stories, particularly in Guardians 3, that I think you could take out and be like, oh, I can see that transferred into a Superman movie, but it remains to be seen. I also have qualms with his writing style, so I don't know. But Samir, I'm going to jump to you here because I think you had the most criticism towards the last Superman we had. That's not even you didn't like him. Man of Steel, you said in our last podcast that Man of Steel is, in your opinion, the best DCEU movie. But do you have any issues with potentially a more humorous, lighthearted Superman? Maybe the most humorous yet.
Like you said, the humor isn't the problem. It's James Gunn's writing that's the problem. He writes humor pretty badly. I mean, if it's like Chris Pratt humor, which we've seen him do every time, it's terrible, especially in Peacemaker. That was some of the worst humor I've seen. I don't know. And it definitely wouldn't fit the tone. So if he like respects the tone and knows what he's doing, knows the audience, knows the character, then it should be fine, I think, the humor.
Zian, what about you? What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I feel like Traz, you probably hit it on the head that it's gonna be more like he is this very Boy Scout type, very straight laced, by the book kind of guy. Where he has those old school country values that Ma and Pa can't put in him, and then it's the other characters around him that are kind of like reacting to how he does it. Not so much Superman reacting to them, but they're reacting to Superman. That this guy, all the power in the world, is basically SQ hero. So like in terms of tier ranking, so all the power in the world, he's such like a pure guy, and they'll be quipping around him and the way he acts, so like very Boy Scoutish. I think as long as the humor is more towards that, and of course you can have Clark Kent and his maybe not too much, but like obviously you can make him more of a goofy character again.
Drama.
Obviously Clark Kent in DCEU was he had the same stoicism that he would as Superman. So I guess they went that route where he is a very serious journalist. And though I don't want him to be a bad journalist here, I don't mind that. Okay, they really he really plays Clark Kent as kind of like this goofy guy to really differentiate himself in Superman. Because even in like, let's say, Adventures of Superman and Lois, the anime show that came out, he's kind of like not so different in his Clark and Superman persona. Honestly, they're both kind of like goofy in the same way. So I wanted to be a differentiation, more like Christopher Reeve did, where he is very stoic as Superman and he's more goofy as Clark Kent. As long as they play that angle and the comedy is more that they're reacting to him, I wouldn't mind that. If Superman makes even one quip, it will be absolute garbage. He cannot be the one making the jokes by voice. Other people can react to him. If he's the one quipping around and he's like suddenly a Goof Street, suddenly Spider-Man, then it's going to be so bad.
Yeah, I think him going anywhere near Spider-Man is bad. And the same thing as Samir mentioned, Peacemaker jokes. I think that's where, in my opinion, Gunn is at his worst. And then at his best is when he's trying to stay in a more heartful tone. I think for Superman, I actually disagree with the Chris Reeve angle. I agree with the premise, but I don't want Clark Kent being necessarily goofy. Like, I don't want him bumbling around and falling over and like not like overplaying out this idea that I'm not Superman, I gotta hide my identity. But at the same time, I actually thought they should take a page out of the My Adventures of Superman and Lois, like and pull something out of that. Because I actually like that Clark Kent. He's young and he's like just kind of dealing with everything going on, and he's dealing with his powers being fresh. I think that's a good angle. And honestly, I wouldn't mind going Superman the animated series either. If you look into the animated series, Clark Kent, especially with Lois, and they're sticking with it. I'm thinking we're not going to have a Man of Steel situation where Lois Lane figures out Superman's identity like that, and they kind of erase the whole.
You mean she's actually a actual true investigative journalist?
Yeah,
like for class and figure it out. Like I'll do it.
Exactly. But I think they're gonna play more like Lois Lane's oblivious to Superman, so they can have maybe a full movie of them not knowing who each other are.
That's better, honestly.
I mean, that is the comedy too. They can play the comedy of, which is some of Chris Reeve, where like Lois Lane is and Clark Kent are always like having this dance where as soon as there's trouble, Clark Kent disappears, becomes Superman, and Lois is like, oh, what's happening? That joke, I can see for the general audience to like this. The general audience will eat that up. Let's call it what it is,
Bro, in this day and age, people that look at that see us stupid. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe, maybe not.
I think that's what people want now. That's what people need now.
People want something wholesome now. I think people are done with
How's that
cynicism.
wholesome? That just makes, dude. You know how many articles might be written about how Lois Lane, they made her stupid because she's a woman and all that stuff.
I agree.
I'm telling you that the world we live in is totally different.
No, I agree with that because James Gunn's weakest writing is for women by far. So if you look at how James Gunn writes females, it's really bad. So I think
his Guardians wasn't too bad. He was good with Gamora. He was good with.
I think Guardians
that
is
other girl.
but everything. I don't like how he writes in like the Suicide Squad or like.
Suicide Squad. Yes, you can tell they're bad.
I honestly think the more we talk about this movie, the more I feel like this movie's just gonna struggle on so many levels.
Yeah,
like just read off the people that are in the movie. There's like a bunch of characters that no one even knows. I don't understand how he's gonna incorporate all these characters. I'm talking about like all these extra characters.
I think a lot of be one-offs, like they're just there and they like just to show Superman. I think it'll be clear they're gonna make an allegory for killing, stuff like that. They'll be like, oh, all the heroes are probably killing and Superman really can't kill. They're gonna do these kind of things. I can tell this movie's gonna be kind of. What I want them to do is really just stay wholesome, stay fresh, give us an interesting villain. I hope it's not the Authority. Give us Brainiac. Let us go crazy with it. Like I want to see something unique and fun and different.
Didn't they already say that all these characters like Hawk Girl and everybody, they're all like Justice Society or whatever, they're controlled by Waller?
Yeah, the Justice Society. Yeah, they're going to be
so then that already creates a good story angle because Superman is the free bird in the sense that he's not controlled by the government. He's his own person. And obviously, he's more powerful than every other super combined. So that does play a good angle too.
Yeah, and remember, we know the rumors that there's like a Middle East angle to it. I think they might remove it now, but if that's still happening, that's kind of what they're doing. Superman's going to be not an American puppet, and that's they're trying that angle, which the rumors are, because if America's controlling the whole superhero organization and Superman's like, well, I do whatever the hell I want, and they're trying that angle, it could be good, but I don't know if they have like, I don't know if
the writing has spot on.
You'd have
it's gonna be that.
Yeah, if you write incorrectly, it'll become a white savior story. So you have to write that very clear, and I think it's probably in their best interest to remove it entirely and stick to something safer. But my end point on Superman is don't do a redo of Christopher Reeves. Don't go a complete whiplash away from Henry Cavill. Just do something that's Superman from the comics, which we haven't ever gotten. If you think about it, we've never gotten a comic accurate Superman movie, which is fine, but we can get one now. And let's see what happens, for good or bad.
If they make it, honestly, if they make it more about Amanda Waller's freedom and Superman's like place and like that whole thing, then I think that movie's gonna turn out pretty well. But if the second they make it like just stupid, like something dumb, then nah, bro, I'm not for it.
I mean, the rumors are it's half. Half the movie's gonna be about Superman's place in the world, and then is he gonna be working in the American government's like reaction to him, but not in like a BVS way, but more like just a more lighthearted version of it. And then the other half's gonna be hopefully, the rumors are true, Brainiac, something like that. Let's see.
It's gonna be Black Adam, bro. I'm telling you. I'm calling it right.
Yeah, it's not gonna be an existential angle that this guy's gonna destroy the planet. You know?
No, it's gonna be like,
yeah.
It's gonna be that there's so many superheroes and all of them are controlled by America. So how come there's one superhero is not controlled by us, and he happens to be the strongest one, so it's even more dangerous, like that kind of thing, you know?
So he's gonna stand up for freedom, justice, and the American way.
Yeah, well, not the American way. They said they said the slogan. It's not gonna be the American way. It's gonna be truth, justice, and something. Better tomorrow.
Whatever you said in Just League. The first one.
I thought they went back to the American way.
No, they went. They mentioned it for a second, but then they redid it again.
One marketing thing, they used it again.
They
used it again once.
The synopsis changed. The first synopsis when David Zaslav kind of pushed Superman Legacy out there had, he's back for truth, justice, the American way. And then recently, when they redid the synopsis for the movie, it now says truth, justice, and a better tomorrow or something. So I think they want to circumvent that a bit. I don't know.
I think Grass is gonna have his hopes kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I think
he gets his hopes up every time Superman movie comes out, and then all.
What do you mean every time? There's been one Superman movie in the last 10 years. There's no hope to get up. But Fatima brings up that Guardians wasn't that great either. I'm sorry, his movies are subpar at best. So like, it depends. Some people really aren't fans, But let's see. And then
agreed.
One guy jumps in the comments saying, "Hello everyone. I hope as a DC fan I want nothing but the best, but I don't have faith that the studio can deliver what the fans want." Let's see. And then Fatima again says, who knows, maybe the movie will be good and Superman fans will be eating good, but I don't know. We'll have to give it a chance. I hope, like, at this point, if Superman Legacy does poorly, let's say it flops. If it flops, we won't get a Superman movie for like 20 years. Like, he's going to be...
No, not necessarily. Just tell the studio. That's it. Give up. Sell it. That's not their problem anymore. Let somebody else handle it. Cool.
I do think
complete new group.
Yeah,
of
give it
people.
to Netflix.
Chris, sell Universal. Get Nolan back on it.
I agree with you on one thing. I think WB is going to be sold no matter what. I think that's a foregone conclusion that WB is gone. David Ellis doesn't want it, and he's driven into debt. He wants to quickly make a turn on his investment and keep what he can and get whatever he can. So if you get rid of WB Pictures and sell it to Universal or sell it to something, I prefer Universal getting it. I think Universal and WB together has a huge implication, not just for the film side, because they do a pretty good job as a studio. Example, Oppenheimer, but also for the theme park side, I think there's a lot of potential there. But even outside of, if it doesn't go Universal and goes to Comcast something or Paramount, if we make a different merger, I think what's going to happen is whoever comes in as the new boss is going to do one of two things. If Superman Legacy is like $1 billion success, then they're going to keep the universe going. But most likely, I think James Gunn knows this too, they're going to tell Gunn that forget it. You just finish your trilogy and all these side movies get rid of, and we're going to go back to like an old school format of just like little trilogies of really big characters, you know? And I expect Green Lantern to be one of them because Green Lantern never showed up in the original universe in the DCEU. So I think he had enough of a gap since the Ryan Reynolds movie that he can have his own movie now and be good. And then eventually, hopefully keep the Batman franchise running. But I think that's how it's going to be if it gets sold. But I don't know. Let's see. Either way, I think I don't have many other, any angles to say about this. Let's just see how the universe goes. What do you guys think about the future of DC on film? What are you excited for? What are you not excited for? Do you think it's going to fare any better than the DCEU? Or are we destined to make the same mistakes? Let us know in the comments and join the debate. From myself, from Zion, from Samir, and from Umar, we're the Farooqi Bros, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.